Sometimes life falls apart, just so you can learn how to rebuild it. This is the story of a woman, a broken house, and a second chance she never saw coming. If you love real, heartfelt stories, don't forget to subscribe, and let's begin. This is Echoes of the Past, real stories, real emotions. My name is Sarah Emily Hart, and a year ago, I lost everything. It wasn't sudden, not really, more like a slow erosion, a bad marriage, a job that drained me until there was nothing left. Friends who stopped calling because they didn't know what to say anymore. By the time the final blow came, when I signed the papers and packed my life into boxes, there was barely a version of me left to salvage. I ended up driving aimlessly for hours that day, no real destination in mind. Just me, the open road, and the hum of tires on asphalt. That's when I found it. A little town I had never heard of, with a main street that looked like it belonged in a postcard from the 1950s. And there, at the end of Wren Street, was the house. It was abandoned, paint peeling and shutters hanging crooked, the kind of place most people would call a lost cause. But standing there, in the dying light of late afternoon, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Hope. I made an offer the next day. It was a ridiculous impulse. I barely had enough in savings to cover it, and the place needed more work than I could ever do alone. But it felt right. It felt like mine. What I didn't realize was that I wasn't just buying a house. I was stepping into a story I never expected. One with broken things to mend, strangers who would become something more, and a version of myself I thought I'd lost forever. It all started with a leaky kitchen sink and a man named Jack. The first night in the house was rough. No heat, creaky floors, and a mattress on the ground surrounded by unopened boxes. But I didn't care. It was mine. And for the first time in a long while, I felt safe. The next morning, I discovered the kitchen sink was leaking badly, water pooling across the warped floorboards. I tried to fix it myself, tightening knobs and wrapping tape like I had seen in videos, but by noon, I had to admit defeat. The town wasn't big, but it had a hardware store, so I drove there, clutching a piece of soggy pipe in my hand like some sad trophy. That's where I met Jack. He looked a little older than me, mid-40s maybe, with worn jeans, a flannel shirt, and a face that somehow managed to be both rough and kind at the same time. When I asked for help, he didn't laugh or talk down to me like I half expected. Instead, he wiped his hands on a rag and said, "I'll take a look if you want. No charge." I hesitated. Trust didn't come easily anymore. But something about Jack, maybe the calm way he spoke or how he didn't push, made me say yes. An hour later, he had the sink working. 2 hours later, we were sitting on the front steps, sipping cheap coffee from paper cups and talking like old friends. I found out he grew up here, left for a while, and then came back after his own life unraveled in ways he didn't talk about. By the time he left, promising to come back and help me with a few other disasters I had lurking in the house, I realized something. Maybe fixing this place wasn't just about drywall and paint. Maybe it was about rebuilding something inside me too. And maybe, just maybe, I didn't have to do it alone. The next few weeks blurred into a routine I hadn't known I needed. Mornings started with strong coffee and a running list of repairs. Evenings ended with aching muscles and the kind of tired that felt earned, not forced. Jack kept his promise. He showed up nearly every weekend, his toolbox in hand, his quiet presence filling the empty spaces of the house. He taught me how to patch walls, replace rotten boards, and even fix a door that wouldn't stay shut. In between the hammering and sawing, we talked. Not about the big stuff, not at first. Just easy things, favorite foods, dumb movies, the weird people you meet in small towns. But late one afternoon, while we were wrestling a new cabinet into place, I caught him glancing at an old, faded photo I had tacked to the fridge. It was me and my sister years ago, all freckles and laughter. "She looks like you," Jack said. I froze for a second, a screwdriver slipping from my hand and clattering to the floor. I hadn't mentioned my sister to anyone in town. Not yet. Not the way she used to be my anchor. Not the way she had turned on me when I needed her most. "Yeah," I said, my voice smaller than I wanted. "We used to be close." Jack didn't push. He just nodded, like he understood things people didn't say out loud. We got back to work, but something shifted after that. It felt like the house wasn't just shedding its broken parts. I was too. Like every wall we rebuilt made it a little easier to breathe. But somewhere deep in the walls, deep in my chest, the whispers of the past lingered. And I knew it was only a matter of time before I had to face them. One rainy Thursday, I found it, tucked under the old welcome mat like a secret waiting to be discovered. A letter. No return address. My name scrawled across the front in handwriting I knew all too well. I stood there in the drizzle, heart pounding. It had been over a year since I'd heard from my sister. A year since the argument that tore everything apart. My fingers trembled as I opened it. Emily, I heard you're back. I know I messed up. Please, can we talk? No apologies, no explanations, just a few short lines that cracked open everything I'd tried so hard to patch up inside me. I thought about ignoring it, pretending I never saw it, pretending I was stronger than the ache blooming in my chest. But ignoring her was like ignoring a part of myself. Later that night, I sat in the kitchen, the letter spread out in front of me, Jack fixing a loose hinge on one of the cabinets. I must have been staring at it too long, because he finally asked, "You okay?" I nodded too quickly. "Just old ghosts," I said. He didn't press, and I was grateful, because honestly, I didn't know what I was going to do. Part of me wanted to slam the door on the past and never look back. Another part, the softer part I hated admitting, still existed, whispered that maybe, people could change. I didn't sleep much that night. The rain tapped against the windows like fingers trying to get in, and somewhere between one thought and the next, I made a decision. I would meet her, but on my terms this time. I chose the place carefully, a small cafe on Willow Street where no one would recognize us. Neutral ground, public enough that nothing could explode into one of those messy scenes I remembered all too well. I got there early, my palms sweating even though the spring air was still cool. I ordered a black coffee I barely touched, watching the door like a hawk. When she finally walked in, my breath caught. Same wild curls, same stubborn set to her jaw, but thinner now. Tired in a way I had never seen before. For a moment, neither of us moved. Just two broken pieces standing there, unsure how to fit back together. Then she slid into the seat across from me, no hug, no smile. Just a wary, aching silence. "Thanks for coming," she said finally, voice rough. I shrugged, staring into my coffee. "I almost didn't." She winced. I deserved that. I waited. I wasn't going to make it easy for her. She fiddled with the sleeve of her jacket, like she was trying to peel off her own skin. "I messed up, Emily," she said, voice cracking. "I chose him over you. I was blind. I thought he loved me. I didn't see what he was doing to you. To us." I stared at her, feeling 100 old wounds ache at once. "You didn't want to see," I said, my voice low. She nodded. Tears welled in her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. "I know, and I don't expect you to forgive me. I couldn't let it stay this way. Not forever." Silence stretched between us, thick and heavy. Part of me wanted to scream at her. Another part just felt tired. So tired. "People always say time heals everything," I said, almost to myself. But they never mention the scars. We sat there, two sisters separated by choices and pain, with no easy way back. And for the first time, I realized maybe forgiveness wasn't about fixing the past. Maybe it was about choosing who you wanted to be now. When I stood up, I didn't promise anything, not forgiveness, not even friendship, just a small nod, a first step, and somehow that felt like enough, for now. Spring turned to summer, and life moved on, the way it always does, whether you're ready or not. I didn't rush into anything with her, no dramatic reunions, no pretend happy endings. Instead, I built my own life, one brick at a time, one day at a time. I rented a tiny apartment above a bookstore, the kind of place that smelled like old paper and dreams. I started working at a small graphic design firm, where no one knew my history, just my talent. I bought a secondhand bike and rode it everywhere, feeling the wind tear through the last shreds of who I used to be. Sometimes she would text. Short things. Thinking of you or hope you're okay. Sometimes I answered, sometimes I didn't. It wasn't about punishment. It was about boundaries. About letting her rebuild her bridge from her side, if she truly wanted to. And about me learning that I didn't have to meet her halfway if I wasn't ready. One Sunday morning, sitting by my window with a cup of cheap coffee and a view of the sunrise, it hit me. I wasn't broken anymore. Bent, maybe. Scarred, definitely. But still standing. Still me. Not the girl who begged to be seen. Not the sister who twisted herself into knots to fit someone else's shape. Just Emily. Strong. Whole. Enough. And in that quiet golden light, I realized something even bigger. Home wasn't a place. It wasn't a person. It wasn't even a family you were born into. Home was the life you built when you finally chose yourself. And for the first time in my life, I was home. Home isn't a place. It's the life you build when you finally choose yourself. If this story moved you, hit the like button and share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you haven't yet, subscribe for more true-to-life stories that speak to the heart.